All right, we're here. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing well today. If I sound exhausted physically, I am. And if I sound mentally exhausted, I also am. The mental exhaustion is because of the product that we're here to talk about today, which is Baz Luhrmann's Elvis. The film that everybody has been waiting for. I said that at the beginning of my last review. But actually, I think this got a pretty good... did it get a standing ovation coming out of Cannes? I think it did. It got a 12-minute standing ovation coming out of Cannes, which, reporting back from the film, have literally zero idea how that happened. But before we get into all of that, let's talk about the positives of the film. And there is one big main positive, and it is Austin Butler. Austin Butler puts on a fantastic performance here. He almost identically replicates Elvis's motions and persona, and it is so well done. I was absolutely blown away. Austin Butler does a fantastic job in the film, and most of the supporting cast does great as well. Olivia DeJonge, Kelvin Harrison Jr., and Dacre Montgomery all put in really great performances despite their minimal time on screen. I also really enjoyed Mandy Walker's cinematography in this film. I think that she managed to perfectly match up the shot composition to the emotion that we as an audience are supposed to be feeling, or the emotion that the director is trying to portray on screen. I think that she did a very great job at capturing moments, which is something that's so important in a film this long, which we will get to a little bit later. In a film this long, you need to capture moments, and you need to be able to hone in and get the audience's attention through the cinematography. And she was definitely able to do that. And believe it or not, contrary to what my rating will tell you at the end of this review, those are the only pure positives that I have to talk about, because all of the other positives somehow intermingle with the negatives. So we're just gonna move on to that. Apparently, I've seen literally... Oh no, I've seen two Baz Luhrmann films. I've seen Australia, and I have seen The Great Gatsby. And neither of those films really did anything for me personally. But watching them and hearing about his other movies, apparently he has a maximalist style, very, very grandiose style, and you can just tell it's a Baz Luhrmann film, you know? At least that's what I've heard from other reviews of this film, and just general consensus. So going into this, I was like, oh, okay, it'll be fun. It'll be like a big event, at least. And man, this is the most conflicted and confusing movie of the year. It is insane to me. So let's really get into this. Simultaneously, Elvis is one of the most cracked films ever. It is insane. The editing is done like someone, at certain points, is done like someone who just learned how to be proficient at After Effects, so they just threw everything against the wall and saw what stuck. It is a headache. It is nauseating, and it's just genuinely unpleasant to look at. The editing in this film is insane at certain parts. Transitory periods are almost unbearable, they burn into your eyes, and then at the same time, it is one of the most boring movies. First of all, coming out the gate, absolutely no reason for this film to be 3 hours or 2 hours and 40 minutes ish. No reason whatsoever. This could have easily, from my perspective, been 1:45 to 2. It could have cut out a whole 30-40 minutes of content and been completely fine and covered everything that they needed to. The movie seems to feel the need to rush through Elvis's story because there's so much to say, yet they have these extensive, boring, just drawn out bits of dialogue that really don't serve that much of a purpose to the movie itself. And you could have easily just cut out those and made it a more succinct property And then you wouldn't feel the need to rush. Then maybe the fast-paced editing would make sense. But instead, it just comes off as two different filmmakers making two different movies. I know it's the same filmmaker, but also I didn't really. So when people say Baz Luhrmann has a maximalist style of filmmaking, is it? See, when someone says that to me, I think, okay, it's big, it's sprawling, it's a lot. No, they just mean it's a lot. You know what I mean? They just mean that a lot is happening all at once, and it never ends. But then it does end. It's such a confusing film. 1 minute you're zooming into a guitar and going through a montage of Las Vegas, and the next minute Elvis Presley is just sitting down and having a conversation with his manager for like 15 minutes. It's so off-putting and unsettling. And on the car ride home with the person I went to see it with, they said, oh yeah, maybe they're trying to get you into the mindset that Elvis was actually going through. And then in my opinion, I countered that with, that may very well be true, but regardless of that, you do have to make that enjoyable to people who are watching the movie. I have seen it done on multiple occasions, making fast-paced, highly edited, insane, just go balls to the wall filmmaking that has put me in the mindset of someone who is in that state, but I've also enjoyed it. Doing that, it's like constantly just pushing your foot on the gas and then braking. It's like giving you whiplash constantly for 3 hours, and it's exhausting. Another thing that I would like to briefly touch on is the performance by Tom Hanks as the Colonel in this movie. Leaving the theater, I was like, what type of artistic decision is this? That was a horrible performance. What the heck was going on? That was insane to me. And the person that I was watching the movie with, once again, was like, hey, you actually do this a lot. You judge these performances based on whether you think it's a good performance or not, and not based on how he actually mimicked, or they actually mimic the original aura and how authentic they are to the character that they're portraying. So before coming onto this recording and doing this review, I went and I looked up a couple of interviews with the Colonel, and I can say now for sure that 100% this is a worse performance than I thought it was, because it's absolutely nothing like that. It's a caricature of what they wanted you to think that character was like. It is the smarmiest, most weirdly spaced dialogue that you could possibly imagine, almost spoken like a maniacal southern hillbilly genius thing that just is not at all how the Colonel actually talked, which was kind of shocking to me, because Tom Hanks is generally pretty good at emulating people that he plays in biopics and stuff like that. But I don't know what was going on there. I can't particularly say, but what I can say is it wasn't very good. Elvis is an experience in theaters that I can only liken to The Northman. Not in the way that it's a grand, sprawling epic that everyone should see, but in the way that I left the theater and I was like, that sure was something. Wow, holy moly. Sure, it was for two completely different reasons, but those are the two films that made me feel that way leaving the theater. Taking everything into account that I just said, ultimately I am going to give Elvis a 5 out of 10. It's very, very middle of the road. There are a lot of things that are working for it, specifically Austin Butler's performance, and frankly, Austin Butler's performance is I'd say 40% of the entire movie is just Austin Butler's performance, but there are some other good things, like I said, the supporting cast, the cinematography, but ultimately, I can't give this a higher rating simply because of how all over the place this movie is. Very unorganized, very scattered, doesn't seem like it knows what direction it's going in, or it seems like it knows what direction it is going in, but the direction is just like an exponential slope, just directly into the air and just firing off. So yeah, no slope, no steady incline or anything like that, just rocket launching into the air. So that is going to be it for me on this review. I promise, video essay next week. It's going to happen. I've really been in a funk with writing. For some reason, I just can't get back on that horse, and I don't know why, but it's going to happen. Another thing that I'm going to make is a 1,000 sub special type thing, talking about a Patreon, talking about just me in general, maybe a little bit, giving you a little bit of background info on the person you subscribe to. Feel like you're warranted. You've earned that at this point. So yeah, that is about it for me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will talk to you in the next one. Also, I didn't get to see the Marcel the Shell screening, so no review for that. Okay, goodbye.